Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And Babakusha, can you let me know if the audio is coming through clear? I got the AC on, so Lord willing, my phone does not overheat. So hopefully the air is not, messing with the audio. And if you can hear clearly, just let me know. Just put like a thumbs up, or let me know how it sounds before I get started. All right, Khan, the water. All right, cool. So yeah, Second Esdras chapter 4. Originally I was gonna go into Second Esdras, the 16th chapter, but a brother had requested, if I could go into Second Esdras, the 4th chapter. So Lord willing, we'll go into the 4th chapter, and then, when the Spirit permits, I'll go into the 16th chapter, and then maybe a few more chapters. And what I'll do is I created a playlist on my channel, so I'll add the different videos in there. So when you go to the channel, when you go to playlist, you should see one that says Second Esdras, or Second Esdras breakdowns, or something like that, and then you can you can get access to it from there. All right, so we're gonna start. This is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 4, verse 1. It says, "And the angel that was sent unto me, whose name was Uriel, gave me an answer." Now, keep in mind that this is a continuation from the 3rd chapter. So if you want a bit more context as to why Ezra is saying this, or what the angel gave him answer to, you got to read the 3rd chapter. All right. So it says here, "And said, Thy heart hath gone too far in this world, and thinkest thou to comprehend the way of the Most High?" Because the kind of questions Ezra was asking, was veering towards, like, Lord, like, why are you letting, these things happen? Why are you, allowing these heathens to be over us and us to be under them? Because he was witnessing the condition we were in Babylon, and seeing how we were being treated, and how these heathens basically had this rule over us. That's why in Second Esdras, I believe it's the 6th chapter, he says, "If the world was now made for our sakes, why do we not yet not possess an inheritance?" Something along those lines. And why do the heathen pretty much reign over us? So basically, he was asking these kinds of questions, and that's why the angel told him, do you think you can comprehend the ways of the Most High? Pretty much, do you think that you love Israel more than the Most High? Do you think that you would better, how to better handle this situation than the Most High? So it says, "Then said I," right? So now this is what the angel asked him. It says, "And thinkest thou to comprehend the way of the Most High? Then said I, Yea, my Lord. And he answered me and said, I am sent to shew thee 3 ways, and to set forth 3 similitudes before thee." All right, and similitudes, basically like comparisons, or like sayings. Like, as we're gonna read through, you'll see the angel, puts forth certain, parabolic sayings, or like, examples in a way, or analogies. So it says, verse 4, "Whereof if thou canst declare me one, I will show unto thee also the way that thou desirest to see." So I'm going to set 3 similitudes before you. If you can explain or break down at least one of them, I'm going to, give you the answer to what you're looking for. So it says, and I shall shew thee from whence the wicked heart cometh. Once again, that is, you can get more context on what questions Ezra was asking in the previous chapters. So it says in verse 5, and I said, tell on, my Lord. Then said he unto me, go thy way, weigh me the weight of fire, or measure me the blast of the wind, or call me again the day that is past. Then answered I and said, what man is able to do that thou shouldest ask such things of me? So the angel then starts to, he said, all right, cool. Give me the weight of fire, or measure the blast of a wind, or call back yesterday, call back the day that is past. And so Ezra, time out, hold on a second. Who do you know that can do that? You asking me like as if that's a possible thing. Ain't no man able to do that, right? So it says, verse 7, and he said unto me, if I should ask thee how great dwellings are in the midst of the sea, or how many springs are in the beginning of the deep, or how many springs are above the firmament, or what are the outgoings of paradise? Yeah, because there's waters in the ocean, and then there's also waters above. When you read the book of Genesis, it tells you that let the firmament separate the waters from the waters. So you have waters above the firmament, and then you have waters below the firmament. Okay? So the angel is saying, well, you saying you can't answer those. Well, if I was to ask you, right, how great dwellings are in the midst of the sea, or how many springs, what are the different currents in the beginning of the deep, or how many springs are above the firmament, or which are the outgoings of paradise? What's the entrance to heaven? What's the way to paradise? Peradventure thou wouldest say unto me, I never went down into the deep, right? Nor as yet into hell, which is the grave, neither did I ever climb up into heaven. So if I was to ask you these questions, you'd probably tell me, well, I've never been there. I haven't been to the bottom of the ocean. I haven't been up above the firmament. I haven't been into the grave. So I can't answer those questions for you, right? So it says here, neither did I ever climb up into heaven. Nevertheless, now have I asked thee, but only now have I asked thee, but only of the fire and wind, and of the day wherethrough thou hast passed, and of things from which thou canst not be separated, and yet canst thou give me no answer of them? So basically, what the angel was saying, look, I asked you 3 things. I didn't ask you about the deep. Because if I ask you about what's in the bottom of the ocean, or what's in space, or what's the way to heaven, you're gonna be able to tell me, well, I haven't been there, so how would I know? So that's why I only asked you about fire and wind and the day that is past. And these are things that you are well acquainted with. These are things that you can't live without. You're constantly around while you're here on the earth. And even those things that you constantly use and you're constantly going through, you can't explain to me. So how do you plan to comprehend the ways of the Most High if you can't even comprehend the things that you use every day? Verse 10, he said, moreover unto me, thine own things and such as are grown up with thee canst thou not know, right? So the things that you experience daily and you've used pretty much your whole life, you've experienced wind. You use fire for things, you've lived through different days. And yet these things that you're so well acquainted with, you can't give me an answer to what I asked you about it. Verse 11, how should thy vessel then be able to comprehend the way of the highest? It says, and the world being now outwardly corrupted, to understand the corruption that is evident in my sight. So how are you going to be able to comprehend the way of the Most High or see things from his perspective if you can't even understand these things? And there's a scripture that says, the Most High seeth not as man does. He doesn't, the Most High, that's why he said his thoughts are not our thoughts, neither are his ways our ways. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways to your ways. So there's a infinite gap between man and the Most High, and that's even on a example level. That's what the angel was basically emphasizing to Ezra. He said, "See, you asking all these questions as if you know more than the Most High, who's behind all of this." It says, verse 12, and it goes to show you that there are certain things that we can't comprehend in these bodies. Okay, that's why when the Lord gives us those new bodies, He's also gonna open up our minds to a whole different level, and we're gonna understand things on a much higher level. Verse 11, how should thy, verse 12, then said I unto him, it were better that we were not at all, than that we should live still in wickedness and to suffer and not to know wherefore. Right? So, for example, you have Ezra, you have people that were born around this time when, you know, we're suffering, and Ezra is saying, look, so in this case, then it had been better for us that we weren't even created to have to go through this, than for us to be born and to suffer and not to understand why it is we're going through this if we're your chosen people. As it says in, I think it's in Malachi, it says that I have loved you, saith the Lord, wherein, but thou sayest, wherein hast thou loved us? Right? And then it goes on to say, I think it's Malachi 1 and 3. All right. Was not Esau Jacob's brother? So, you know, in essence, Ezra is basically saying, look, we're your chosen people. Why are we going through this? If anything, it had been better that you didn't create us at all than to have us going through this. So it says, verse 13, he answered me and said, I went into a forest, into a plain, and the trees took counsel. Now he's given a similitude or a saying. He's putting forth a saying to Ezra or Esdras. So it says here, this is the angel saying this, verse 13, he answered me and said, I went into a forest, into a plain, and the trees took counsel and said, come, let us go and make war against the sea. And that's why I put the thumbnail as what I put it. You can see like the water, and then you can see the land, you know. It was a little closest I could find. But it says here, verse 14, and said, come, let us go and make war against the sea, that it may depart away before us, and that we may make us more woods. The floods of the sea also in like manner took counsel, and said, come, let us go up and subdue the woods of the plain, that there also we may make us another country. So the land, the trees and the land were conspiring together to say, look, let's go take over, let's go subdue and conquer the ocean so we can get more land and we could take it over. And then meanwhile, the ocean was also discussing and conspiring, saying, look, let's go take over the land so we can have more place for us and then fill there with our waters. It says, verse 16, the thought of the wood was in vain, for the fire came and consumed it. The thought of the floods of the sea came likewise to naught, for the sand stood up and stopped them. And these are boundaries that the Lord set in order to, you know, to keep everything in its proper order. Sheesh. I was looking for that scripture. Man, I think it's in Jeremiah. Lord, let's see if my memory is gonna, if my spirit can strengthen my memory. But I think it's in the book of Jeremiah. Somewhere there's 5, either chapter 5 or verse 5. But it mentions about the sand. The Lord has made the sand as a bound that the sea or the waves cannot cross. Let's see if I can find it. And if anybody knows it, Babakusha, if you could just, you know, post it on the comment section, you know, it'll help out a lot. I'm gonna go where I think it is, and if I can't find it, then I'll wait for a brother to, Lord willing, post it on the comment. Let's see, is it this? Nope, it's not here. Yeah, I don't. It basically it's like a beach scripture, right? It talks about the sand that the Lord has set as a bound. I think it's in Jeremiah. I don't know. I don't remember what chapter, but I think it's in the book of Jeremiah. But anyway, the point is that like it says, like the angel said, their thoughts were in vain, because the Most High created. That's the one, Jeremiah 5:22. The water, bro. Yep, the water. I Walam Awar Ban Loya and Bayan Yasharala. This is Jeremiah 5:22. I knew I had a 5 in there somewhere. Salakia, bear with me 1 second while I make some moves to go and take that spot right there. Salakia. Right, so Jeremiah 5:22, it says, "Fear ye not me." Let me see. All right. Salakia. Let me go ahead and do what's right real quick. You know, when given the opportunity, you got to do what's right. All right. So Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 22, as it reads, "Fear ye not me, saith the Lord. Will ye not tremble at my presence, which have placed the sand for the bound of the sea by a perpetual decree, that it cannot pass it, and though the waves thereof toss themselves, yet can they not prevail, though they roar, yet can they not pass over it." Right? So the Lord has set up a bound using the sand, and that's why no matter how rough or wild the waves get, they always calm down right at the unless the Lord deliberately sets a storm or a flood, you know. But they always calm down by the sand, you know. That's right there at the shore, you know. So going on back in back in 2nd Esdras chapter 4, verse 17, it says, "The thought of the floods of the sea came up likewise to naught, for the sand stood up and stopped them." So the wood on the land couldn't take over the sea, and the waves of the sea couldn't take over the land. It says, and this is just an example that the angel was like he mentioned, he was gonna put 3 similitudes before him, but it's just an example that the angel was giving Ezra to make a point. So it says, verse 18, if thou wert judge now betwixt these two, whom wouldest thou begin to justify, or whom wouldest thou condemn?" So if you had to judge between the two of them, who would you say is right, and who would you say is wrong? Verse 19, "I answered and said, Verily it is a foolish thought that they both have devised. For the ground is given unto the wood, and the sea also hath his place to bear his floods. Then answered he me and said, Thou hast given a right judgment, but why judgest thou not thyself also?" So as the angel, as Ezra said, basically, look, that's both of them are wrong. You know, the ground is set up for the wood, so that you know, that's where the trees grow out of, and the ocean is made in a way for the water, to hold the water. So the angel said, okay, you've done well, but if you're able to judge this matter, why don't you judge yourself also? It says, verse 21, "For like as the ground is given unto the wood, and the sea to his floods, even so they that dwell upon the earth may understand nothing but that which is upon the earth." So trees are not meant to grow out of the water, okay? Trees are meant to grow out of the ground, out of the earth. So that is their habitation. That is what they're where they're designed to grow and to function, right, and to be of use. So the angel is saying here, even so they that dwell upon the earth may understand nothing but that which is upon the earth. Just like the wood can't, and the trees can't take over any other place than the place that was given to them. Man can only understand that which is upon the earth because that's where man was placed. That's where man was created to be. It says, and he that dwelleth above the heavens may only understand the things that are above the height of the heavens. Okay? Just like the ocean, it's gotta stay in this place, and the land gotta stay in this place. So it says, then answered I and said, I beseech thee, O Lord, let me have understanding. For it was not my mind to be curious of the high things, but of such as pass by us daily, namely, wherefore Israel is given up as a reproach to the heathen. So he's saying, just, I just want to get understanding. I wasn't trying to go too deep, into all these things, but I just wanted to understand, why is it, right, that as it says, Israel is given as a reproach to the heathen. Pretty much, we're your chosen people, and why is it that we're subject onto these heathen and their idol worship and all of that, and we, being your chosen people, are treated as, dirt? It says, and for what cause the people whom thou hast loved is given over unto ungodly nations. So why have we been given over to these people, to these heathens, to these Babylonians? It says, and why the law of our forefathers is brought to naught, and the written covenants come to none effect. So why did the Lord allow these heathens to come and besiege the Jerusalem, and to break down the walls and burn the temple and destroy the laws and carry us captives into this land and subject us under them? Why would the Lord allow that to happen to his chosen people? It says, and we pass away out of the world as grasshoppers, all right, meaning insignificantly, and find our life is astonishment and fear. It says, and our life is astonishment and fear, and we are not worthy to obtain mercy. And Ezra was speaking this because of the condition that he found himself and the rest of the Israelites therein. Verse 25, what will he then do unto his name whereby we are called? Of these things have I asked. So this is what I want to understand. This is what I want to know. Why is the Lord allowing this to happen? So it says, and what will he do unto his name whereby we are called? Because when you go back to the wilderness, one of the tactics that Moses used when talking to the Most High was also, look, Lord, not just about the promise that you made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but also about your name, about your reputation. If you leave us to go by ourselves in this wilderness and we don't make it, what is that going to say about you? Everybody's going to look at you as though you just brought us here just to kill us. They're not going to look at you as this, great power that delivered us, in uncertain circumstances. So as Ezra is saying, well, Lord, if you allow us to be in this low state and allow these heathens to do this to us, what's going to happen to your name? Because we are your holy nation. We're the ones who praise your name. So glorifying us glorifies you as well. So it says, verse 26, then answered he me and said, the more thou searchest, the more thou shalt marvel. For the world hasteth fast to pass away, and cannot comprehend the things that are promised to the righteous in time to come. For this world is full of unrighteousness and infirmities. Yeah, because as it says, eyes have not seen, neither have ear heard, neither have it entered into the minds of men what is prepared for those that love the Most High. So this world cannot comprehend what the Lord has set up for the righteous, because it's too unrighteous. It says, verse 28, but as concerning the things whereof thou askest me, I will tell thee. For the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet come. Now, as we go into it, the angel is going to basically answer Ezra's question, but also using the analogy of husbandry or planting. Okay? When you sow something, you plant it into the earth. So what he said here is the evil is sown, but the destruction is not yet come, or the destruction thereof is not yet come. So there's a cause, the cause has happened, but the effect hasn't happened yet. It says, verse 29, if therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, and if the place where the evil is sown pass not away, then cannot it come that is sown with good. So if the wicked was sown, right, the wicked deeds and the acts were sown until the right judgment or recompense happens for that, then cannot the reward for righteousness come. The punishment for wickedness has to come before the reward for righteousness comes, because wickedness, the seed of wickedness was sown before the seed of righteousness. Adam sinned before coming back again as Yahushai to make it right. So the first Adam went off, but the last Adam made it right. So that means the punishment for going off has to come to pass before the reward for making it right comes to pass. Verse 30, for the grain of evil seed hath been sown in the heart of Adam from the beginning. And how much ungodliness hath it brought up unto this time? And how much shall it yet bring forth until the time of threshing come? Meaning, when you sow something into the ground, over time it starts to grow. And when it grows, it bears fruit. And it keeps on growing and growing and growing. And then comes the harvest time where you cut it, the reapers come with sickles, and then they cut, and then they bind up into sheaves, and then they saddle it on the ass, and then they take it to a threshing floor. And there they trample on it, or they beat the crops or the grain or whatever until they're able to get the husk and the outer shell off of it, and then they can get the actual grain that they need. That's what the threshing floor is for. So once you plant, the end goal is when you harvest, and then you take the crops to the threshing floor, and then you beat it, and then you get what you need from it. So what is being said here is, for the evil seed hath been sown in the heart of Adam from the beginning, and how much ungodliness has it brought up unto this time. So imagine planting something then and not touching it up until now, and it just keeps growing more and more and more and more and more. And how much shall it yet bring forth until the time of the threshing come? So until the time of the judgment comes, how much more wickedness is going to stem from that first beginning, that first wicked deed that Adam did, up until the judgment comes. Okay, it's going to be a whole, that's why if you look at the world today, the level of wickedness that is on is unfathomable. Verse 31, it says, ponder now by thyself, meaning to think upon, right? When you ponder, how great fruit of wickedness the grain of evil seed hath brought forth. And when the ears shall be cut down, once again, using the analogy of planting and reaping. Now, ears is dealing with corn, right? When you plant and it comes up, you pluck the ears of corn, and then, you go do what you got to do with it. So using the analogy once again, right? Ponder now, verse 31, by thyself, how great fruit of wickedness the grain of evil seed hath brought forth. So since that evil seed was planted, how much wickedness has it brought forth? Up all the way up until now. And when the ears shall be cut down, which is during the harvest, which are without number, how great a floor shall they fill? So once again, if you planted something and you didn't harvest it for so long, and it just kept growing and growing and growing in abundance, and now you come to pluck the ears of corn, or you come to reap what you sowed, how much do you think it would be with all this time? Will there even be a room or a threshing floor big enough for you to be able to put all these crops on it? And so in essence, what he's saying here is the crops are the wickedness that has grown forth from the evil seed. So now at the point of judgment to come, how much wickedness do you think there's going to be? Right? Is there even going to be enough judgment to cover all this wickedness? It says, then I answered and said, how and when shall these things come to pass? Because he's being told that, okay, there's been evil done, but judgment needs to come for that. Like it's like when we talk about the kingdom and we say, but we first got to go through Jacob's trouble, because Jacob's trouble is going to be the judgment. You know, the judgment for the wickedness on this earth has to come to pass before the reward of the kingdom. So it says, so Ezra's asking, okay, how and when shall these things come to pass? Wherefore are our years few and evil? You know, so when is this going to happen? When is this going to come to pass? You know, and so that all this suffering that we go through can be ended. It says, and he answered me saying, do not thou hasten above the most highest, for thy haste is in vain to be above him, for thou hast much exceeded. You know, so sometimes, you know, it'll happen where we'll get into the spirit, because when you're constantly witnessing, you know, and suffering abominations and sighing and crying and going through this hell, you sometimes you feel impatient in the spirit, because we're hastening, you know, for the return of Yahweh Shai, but sometimes you feel like it can't come soon enough. And Ezra was feeling that way with the energy he was coming with and the questions he was asking, right? And then that's why the angel told him, all right, well, you got to chill out. Don't haste above the Most High, because trust me, the scriptures say it is the Most High's good pleasure to give us the kingdom, but everything has to happen in its due season. So that's why he says, for thy haste is in vain, because it doesn't matter how much you haste. The scriptures say, wake not my love till he be pleased. So there's nothing you can do until the Most High says, all right, this is the time, this is the green light, go ahead, let the judgment commence. It doesn't matter how many videos you do or how many prayers you send up, the Most High has set an appointed time for these things to take place. That's why it's always good to pray for patience, to be able to possess your souls and endure until the time be ready. Verse 35, did not the souls also of the righteous ask question of these things in their chambers, saying, how long shall I hope on this fashion? When cometh the fruit of the floor of our reward? See, so just like we do today, the men of old did that as well, discussing amongst themselves, meditating like, damn. Even Nehemiah said it. He said, Lord, remember the things that I've done for Israel this day. So knowing about the promises, an example is even the apostles, right? More in the future from Ezra's time, but the apostles, when Yahweh Shai rose, they were also eager. That's why Peter asked the Lord, well, what are we going to get for following you? When are we going to get our reward? It says, and unto these things Uriel the archangel gave them answer and said, even when the number of seeds is filled in you, for he hath weighed the world in the balance. And this is pretty much the answer Yahweh Shai gave Peter and the rest of the apostles that were there when they asked, what are we going to get? Because what did Yahweh Shai tell them? Yahweh Shai told them, those of you that have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man comes and sits upon his throne, you're also going to sit upon thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So in essence, that is like saying, even when the number of seeds is filled in you. The number of seeds meaning the amount of times you are set to come back on the earth through reincarnation. So when Yahweh Shai said, ye that have followed me in the regeneration. So the apostles were going to come back on the earth and come back and come back and come back up until this time when Yahweh Shai was going to make his return. That's when they're going to get their reward. So that's when the job is done. And that's the same answer that these men got who were basically asking questions saying, so when are we going to get our reward? And the answer was when your job is done. And you're going to keep coming back on the earth a certain amount of times to do that job until the job is done. And the job is about to be completed now, as we're seeing the time of Jacob's trouble coming, and we're seeing the drawing closer of the return of Yahweh Shai. It says, for he hath weighed the world in the balance, by measure hath he measured the times, and by number hath he numbered the times, and he doth not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled. So the Most High has everything on a time clock, on a measurement. There's a certain level of wickedness that he's going to tolerate for a certain empire. There's a certain time frame he has set for certain things to take place, and he doesn't move it or speed it up or slow it down until that time, that appointed time hits. So Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, the 3rd verse. Yep, this is the brother Naquam. Shalom. This is Ecclesiasticus 39:16. All the works of the Lord are exceeding good, and whatsoever he commandeth shall be accomplished in due season. Hear that? In due season. So it says, 2nd Esdras chapter, make sure the phone ain't hot. All right, let's turn this on a little bit. All right, 2nd Esdras chapter 4, continuing at verse 38. Then answered I and said, O Lord that bearest rule, even we are all full of impiety, which is wickedness or ungodliness. And for our sakes, peradventure, it is that the floors of the righteous are not filled. Going back to, so when you plant crops, when you sow and you reap, and you take what you reap to the threshing floors, based on how full the threshing floors are, how occupied it is, that's how you know if you had a good harvest or if you had a bad harvest, right? So what Ezra is saying here is the floors of the righteous, meaning just using the analogy, the crops would be the righteous, right? So he's saying for the floors of the threshing floors where we're going to put the wickedness on, those are full. But for the threshing floors where we're going to put the righteousness on is very small. So Ezra's saying maybe it's because of the wickedness within us that there's not enough righteousness on the earth, for a lack of a better sense of explanation. Shalom, big bro. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshai Brakatham, or Brakatha Wa Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshai Brakatham. So it says, 2nd Esdras chapter 4, continuing at verse read 39 again. It says, and for our sakes peradventure, so maybe because of us, it is that the floors of the righteous are not filled, that there's not enough righteousness to fill up the metaphorical threshing floors, so to speak. It says, and it says, because of the sins of them that dwell upon the earth. So there's not enough righteous works. And so he answered me and said, go thy way to a woman with child, and ask of her, when she hath fulfilled her 9 months, if her womb may keep the birth any longer within her. Then said I, no, Lord, that can she not. And he said unto me, in the grave, the chambers of souls are like the womb of a woman. For like as a woman that travaileth maketh haste to escape the necessity of the travail, even so do these places haste to deliver those things that are committed unto them. Meaning, the angel gave the comparison of when you die, we know obviously your body goes to the grave, but your spirit goes to the spirit world. So what he is saying here is like the spirit world where your spirit dwells for a period of time before coming back on the earth again, is likened onto the womb of a pregnant woman, where there's a period of time that the baby dwells in there, but once the time is up, the baby can't stay there anymore. They have to be spewed back out onto the world. They gotta come out of her, come out of her. So just like that, when your spirit goes to the spirit world, there's a period of time that your spirit dwells there, but after that period of time, which is roughly 3 to 4 generations, your spirit gotta come back on the earth, just like the woman that baby gotta come out of her. The water breaks, so to speak, and then your spirit gotta come back on the earth. Now, there's of course exceptions or situations, like with the case of Yahushua, because he wasn't subject to that. He didn't have to come down every 3 to 4 generations. So as it says, going on, 2nd Esdras chapter 4, verse 43. It says from the begin. Matter of fact, let me read verse 41 again. It says, then said I, no, Lord, that can she not. And he said unto me, in the grave, the chambers of souls are like the womb of a woman, right? The chamber is the dwelling place where the souls are. And where is that? The spirit world. It says, for like as a woman that travaileth maketh haste to escape the necessity of the travail, even so do these places haste to deliver those things that are committed unto them. So if these are the chambers of the souls, what are committed unto them? The souls. And so after the time is ready, they make haste to put the spirits back on the earth. And that comes through the act of a man and a woman laying together, creating the vessel that the spirit is going to come into. It says, from the beginning, look what thou desirest to see, it shall be shewed thee. Then answered I and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, and if it be possible, and if I be meet therefore, shew me then whether there be more to come than is past, or more past than is to come. So has there been more time or more things that have happened in the past already? Do we only have a little bit left? Or are we only scratching the surface, and is there a lot more to go than what has already happened? Because Ezra understood that there's a time frame for all these things to take place, where the wickedness has been sown and then the judgment has to come to pass. So are we almost at the end, or are we somewhere, in the middle, or are we somewhere in the beginning? And he even asks again in 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or what shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? So verse 46, what is past I know, but what is for to come I know not. Because what is past is history, and there's records. But what is for to come is prophecy, and there's no records. There's only prophecy. Until it happens is when you're going to get the exact details of it. It says, verse 40, and if you don't have the prophecy, then you really don't know what's going to happen in the future. Verse 47, and he said unto me, stand up upon the right side, and I shall expound the similitude unto thee. So I stood and saw, and behold, an hot burning oven passed by before me. Don't imagine a modern day oven where it is attached to the stove. You got the stove top on top. Then you got you pull the front open, and then you put your cake or whatever it is you're trying to bake in there. So you imagine a big ass device that looks like a modern day oven flying by. No, you got to imagine the ancient the ovens of the ancient world. Okay, which you can look up ovens of the ancient world or ovens of Bible times, and you'll see an image of it. So it says here, so I stood and saw, and behold, an hot burning oven passed by before me. And it happened that when the flame was gone by, I looked, and behold, the smoke remained still. After this there passed by before me a watery cloud, and sent down much rain with a storm. And when the stormy rain was past, the drops remained still. Then said he unto me, consider with thyself, as the rain is more than the drops, and as the fire is greater than the smoke, but the drops and the smoke remain behind. So the quantity which is past did more exceed. Meaning, the smoke is a result of the fire, and the drops are a result of the rain. So the heavy part, the main part, has already passed. Because remember, Ezra was asking, okay, has there been more past than or is there more to come? And the angel basically showed him this this image or this similitude to make an analogy or make an example in Ezra's mind to show him that what is past can be resembled as the fire, and what's left to come is the smoke, meaning the result of what happened as of the actions that had taken place. So because of the deeds that were done, because of the cause, now what's left is the effect. So because, like, you saw the fire, and then you saw when the fire left, all that was left was the smoke, right? Because smoke comes from fire. So the things that have happened in the past have happened, but now what's left is the result or the judgment that's to take place to accompany those things. And just like he saw the rain, he saw drops as a result of the rain, but after the rain was past, the drops were still there. Okay, so after the wicked deeds or the actions or the things of the past had happened, now what's left is the result of those things, which we're going through now. Okay, so as it says, that's why the angel said, considered, verse 50, then said he unto me, consider with thyself, as the rain is more than the drops, and as the fire is greater than the smoke, but the drops and the smoke remain behind. So these are what's left. But it says, so the quantity which is past did more exceed. Then I prayed and said, may I live, thinkest thou, until that time? Or what shall happen in those days? So the evils, the main evils have happened, and now we're in the time of the judgment for those things. So Ezra now is asking the angel, okay, well, if the greater portion has passed and all that's left now is for us to finish off, right, by going through the consequences, do you think I'm gonna live long enough until that time? Or what's gonna happen in those days? So Ezra was inquiring about the future. And this is in 2nd Ezra, the 4th chapter. So that's why later on, when you read the chapters that follow, Ezra, the things of the future are revealed to Ezra. So it says, verse 51 again, then I prayed and said, may I live, thinkest thou, until that time? Or what shall happen in those days? He answered me and said, as for the tokens whereof thou askest me, I may tell thee of them in part. So that's why there were certain things that were revealed to Ezra, but not everything. But as touching thy life, I am not sent to shew thee, for I do not know it. So he said, concerning the things you're asking, why is Israel going through this, and what's going to happen in the future? You're saying that this evil this great evil has been done, but the judgment hasn't come yet. So what's going to happen? What's that going to look like? Those things I can show you in part. I can't give you everything, but I can give you parts, through visions and through different sayings. But concerning whether you're going to be able to live long enough to see all of that, I can't tell you that because I don't know it. The Most High didn't tell me that. Okay? And that's pretty much it. That's the end of the book of 2nd Ezra, the 4th chapter. And it's not really a super deep chapter. It's really just going into the dialogue between Ezra or Esdras and the archangel Uriel, as he was asking these curious questions, because just like us, there's certain questions that we ask, that naturally he wanted to know. And so, and blessed was Ezra enough that the Lord sent the angel down to comfort him and to show him these things, and then to give him the meaning of it. And guess what? We're blessed through that, because now we have the records and the revelations of the things that were shown to Ezra. So Barak Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai for that. But yeah, with that, that was pretty much